browser window, so we don't have any. No, like close it.
I can put it on that side, then no one can see it.
No. Okay. I was just thinking like not to have anything on that didn't absolutely have to be.
All right.
Signal as well. Kill that.
Okay.
Are we up?
Yeah, you can check it. Yeah. Super.
Okay.
All right.
Seems like we're live.
Shall we introduce ourselves?
That would be the
I think everyone knows who we are.
polite thing to do, I guess.
All right. So my name is Vincent Mahama. Go by Vince. And yeah, I think that does it for now.
Okay.
That's all that's relevant.
My name's Mr. Boater. I go by Mr. Boater.
I'm not going to call you that.
Emmanuel.
Mr. B.
Mr. Me.
Emmanuel.
Well, that's the introductions. How much of ourselves do we want to introduce? I don't know.
That's another thing. I was wondering how much of ourselves that we want to introduce. I think our last names are pretty much a given because we're not trying to be completely anonymous. But I think that does it for now. We can...
Maybe we should introduce what we're actually doing here. So the episode, well, it's an episode 0, Genesis, before the beginning. Because as we started once upon a time to talk about the idea of having a podcast, we thought, well, why not take everyone with us on the journey of planning what kind of podcast, if indeed we do want to do a podcast, what kind we want it to be, what we want to call it, what the content is going to be, and so on.
Right.
So that's what this is going to be. That's the plan.
Yeah. It's something that you don't see with basically any other popular podcasts. Exactly what went into designing and creating them in the first place. And so Emmanuel had the idea of, hey, why don't we show potentially what was the beginning of a great podcast?
Yeah. So while we're doing this, we are going to... This is really a test run in a lot of ways. And like right now, I'm going to ask Vincent if he can turn down the volume of my mic and my headset a little bit because it's just a bit too loud. So there's going to be a bit of this throughout. We're just fine-tuning.
And of course, if you have any feedbacks to the content or something that's technically not correct, then please let us know. You tell me when it's good.
Test 1 2.
Do you want everything to be quieter or just
no,
your voice?
just my mic.
Just your mic.
Yep. So that one there. Test 1 2. A little bit quieter. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
And maybe the music as well, in my headset at least.
Sure.
So I can hear your melodious voice.
All right.
Cool.
My
So.
melodious voice.
Huh? Yes.
All right. So I see you have a little bit of a agenda going here.
So I just basically listed off a bunch of things in no particular order.
Yeah.
That came to mind when thinking about, okay, what are the kind of things we probably need to address, not necessarily decide on, and some of them definitely affect the other ones. So it's not necessarily, like the name, for example, is something that maybe the content impacts the name. So.
Yeah. So the name we wouldn't do first, probably after finding out what the content and sort of the mantra is.
Yeah, that's the thing. So what I can do is I can just read off the list. And one thing about this kind of process I thought is interesting is a lot of people, myself included, I mean, I watch a whole bunch of podcasts online. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Listen, watch, and so on. And I mean, for myself, it's only when one starts to try to do it themselves that they realize how much actually goes into it.
Right. Because they never show this part.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought would have been a really cool thing, is to take people through that initial step of the journey, the painful part of making a podcast. And yeah, maybe for some people find that interesting.
Yeah.
And at the same time, maybe we can also include critiques or feedbacks from viewers, what they think might be interesting, or if we pop some ideas about the kind of content that we are interested in, maybe we get some feedback and people saying, oh no, I don't find that interesting at all, or vice versa. So
right.
So in no particular order, this is the list of things that came to mind. So of course the name, the introduction, so how do you introduce each episode? Or how indeed do you introduce the show as a whole? Location, layout, seating, that sort of stuff. So right now we've got this setup going. These are things that, as you can see, okay, we have microphones, we have a setup. So we've done something before this.
Yeah. We've got everything we need, more or less.
And Vincent here is the technical guru, so I'm depending on him to sort that stuff out. Duration, that's another big thing. How long do we want this stuff to go for, each episode? Content, that's a big one, right? And that includes also things like code of conduct.
Right.
For example, I mean, do you want to have a beer, on the show? Like, is that okay? Or swearing, those kind of things. Those have to be addressed. Features, that's another big one. So, of course, right now we have the chat going. Another feature is call-ins.
Yep. That's
another option. Of course, with what is it called when you have like paid chats? What are they called? Super chats or something like this? That's on YouTube, right?
Paid chats. So basically, only people that are subscribed to you can chat.
No, like anyone can chat, but then you have super chats, which is like people throw $5 your way, and that's a super chat.
You see them highlighted,
and then you read them off and so on.
Right.
Comment on them. And then screen share, which is something you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, where you can share the screen to the audience directly.
Yeah.
The closing, how do you end each show? That's the marketing platforms and ads. So marketing, what do we want to do for advertising? Platforms, where do we actually want to live stream? Only on YouTube, on multiple places, or if we're not live streaming on other places, do we want to have our stuff elsewhere? Rumble, wherever.
Yep.
And then ads, do we want to monetize or not? That's essentially that question, right? Because ads are one of the things that people kind of hate. But
understandably, even though most people use ad blocker, so.
Well, can you use ad blocker for the in-video ads?
Yes and no, because a lot of the time, like, it's always sort of like a one step thing where the ad blocker will block an ad, and then the ad provider will find a way to circumvent it,
right.
And then they'll keep doing this.
I haven't found an ad blocker that actually blocks the ads that are in the video. You know what I mean? In YouTube, it'll be like an ad starts running.
Which one do you use?
You block sponsored. Origin or something like that.
I just use Ad Blocker Plus.
Yeah.
That one works.
For the ads that are in the video itself.
I never get ads.
Yeah, but do you watch stuff that is monetized?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like on my phone, I don't have any ad blocker, and I'm plagued by the things
Okay. Well, then I gotta look into that. Oh, no, I don't gotta.
But ad blocker plus only blocks ads that are like, they specifically let ads through that aren't, what's the word, intrusive. Because they do want to let you support the uses of ad, like websites and stuff that use ads, as long as they use them responsibly.
Okay, but so that would let through these YouTube ads then, because otherwise, how are these?
If you say let it let through the ads on YouTube, then yeah.
Then it will. Okay.
Yeah. If you like that channel a lot.
Mm-hmm. And then scheduling.
Right.
Being sort of like, do we do it weekly, monthly, annually, bicentennially?
Once.
Every blue half moon.
Okay, so there's a lot of things to cover there. What do you think? I think just so we cover the most important things first, shall we prioritize them and sort of rank them what makes sense to cover first?
We can either do that, or we could just jump into, because when I started thinking about, and I didn't think much about them, I promise, when I started thinking about any of them, I immediately began going interlinking. It was kind of like you almost can't think about one without thinking about another, and then, you know.
All right, so just jump in with both feet then, I guess.
But can we just check how many people are actually watching at the moment? Is there?
I think it should say right there in the live chat.
Okay, we're getting some feedback.
Okay, apparently it looks a little bit dark.
But at least the sound is good. So that's some feedback.
We have the option to either change a setting in the camera or crack a window. I'm gonna go for the camera. Can we get some feedback on that one?
How does one see how many people?
This one looks better even to me.
So there's one person watching at the moment, looks like.
Yeah, I think it's just Serena. Apparently you don't count as one, which is interesting.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get it on mine. That's interesting. On YouTube we don't have a profile picture. Like in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I believe the lighting issue is
It should be better now.
Yeah, this looks better.
Let's see if we can... she says. Looks good, much better.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I guess the heart of the question is exactly what the content will be. And then everything kind of circles around that, no?
I'm just gonna, put a link here.
Sure.
There we go. Yes, content is everything, I believe. I mean, that's, at least for me, coming at this. Okay, so like I said before, I've watched, like you have, heaps of podcasts, all kinds of styles, right? I mean, you can have podcasts where there's just a single person, a single host,
Yeah.
and they'll be doing everything themselves. They won't even have guests on. It's just them, the camera, done.
Yeah.
Then you have the same thing, but they'll have guests on, and it goes all the way to the point of a very professional setup and everything, but still just one person.
Yeah.
Then you have two people, and rarely do you have more than two people. That's kind of seems to me.
As the hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually have two people, and then maybe they'll have a third person on as a guest. One outlier to that I can think of is Tim Pool's show, where he has typically, what is it, like 4 people
As guests.
hosts.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Tim Pool, and then it's if they watch this, they're gonna kill me. The Polish guy. He's proudly Polish, so he won't mind. Luke, that's his name, Luke. And then the guy with the long hair. God, I should know this by now. What his name is. And then Lydia. Lydia's the person changing the camera. She always says she's the one pushing buttons.
Okay.
And that's what she does. So it's 4 people, and then they typically have a guest on. So that's 5 people, and sometimes they have more than one guest on. And then you have all kinds of formats where people will be going through the news. That's a big thing. So they'll be going through news articles and then doing running commentary on the news articles. Of course, the news articles are selected beforehand most of the time. Sometimes it's they just run across a topic, and then one of them looks it up and says, oh yeah, here the Washington Post is saying X, Y, and Z, and and then of course with the guests there, it gets kind of interesting because you're finding out what that person thinks about the stuff. And then you have the kind of setup where it's really an interview style. Where it's really more just you interviewing someone, but in long form.
Yeah.
As opposed to the legacy media kind of short form blurps and so on. So I've seen a lot of different formats. And one thing that I was always interested in is the guests that are usually brought on are people who are either politicians, academics, people with a name, more or less. If they can get a celebrity on, woohoo, yeah. But the number of people who, like, I don't know if this is the correct term, but blue collar, just your average Mary Jane, Billy Bob, those kinds of people don't seem to be really the kind of people that are brought onto those shows. And maybe I'm sure there's a reason for that.
I mean, if you can get a celebrity on your show, you automatically, as an audience, you have everyone who's their fan or follows them.
Correct.
So it's just fruitful for you and probably fruitful for them, because then all of the people who are regular viewers of the show might latch onto them as well.
So that's kind of almost a
like
half marketing thing, right?
Yeah, it's just a business move. And maybe you are interested in what they have to say, but not necessarily.
It's true. Yeah. If you can put that in the headline or the title of your video, the name of the person, right?
Yeah.
Then immediately you're searching, like the online algorithms and so are going to catch on to that. And
yeah. I mean, you basically have 2 audiences searching for one piece of content. It's gonna blow up.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many podcasts already out there. Like the number that I've watched in total, and then the number of different podcasts that I've watched as well, combining that all together, I start to see a lot of the same guests, so the same people on multiple shows, and it just it almost seems to kind of, they're doing their rounds. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
it's true, yeah. It's like, wait, didn't I just see you on that other
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah. And when that happens to me, it's kind of like, okay, I've heard what the person said on, I don't know, one show, and then I'll see them going on to another show, and it's basically they're saying the same stuff, but just on someone
Yeah,
else's
if they
show.
talk about the same
Yeah,
subject, they can't really do anything else.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's a bit redundant to me.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's nevertheless, it's very interesting, of course, and I mean, they've super high valued podcasts and videos, like, you know, what Joe Rogan is doing, for example, is amazing. I mean, it's just mind blowing. But if you see someone on Joe Rogan and then you see that same person on Tim Pool, I mean, what do you expect? It's the same person. It's not like they're going to have different views on, you know, depending on which.
Imagine if they completely flip-flop depending on who the interviewer is.
That would be terrible. So yeah, my that's where I came from, is sort of the desire to see what the just the ordinary a person who doesn't have their own podcast, for example, a person who's just like, hey, I met this person the other day at the grocery store. I had a chat with them, and I said to them, you know, why don't you come on to the podcast and just have a chat with us, you know, about these different things.
Yeah.
You can't do that with everyone, that I understand.
No.
Obviously. But if you just meet someone that's kind of interested and maybe has some interesting views and they want to come on to a podcast, that would be kind of interesting. Like just a rando, you know.
Would you be interested in bringing someone on from What's Up Burn or just a WhatsApp group?
Okay, so I don't know if the people watching know what that is, but like
you will.
You will. You've been warned. Absolutely. I don't have anything against anyone coming on. I'm just saying that.
Well,
What?
Well, you don't want to bring someone on. It's almost guaranteed to be a shit show.
Ooh, you swore already. Oh.
Hey, the first one's not made for kids. We're gonna see what the next ones do, but I'm assuming they're also not gonna be made for kids.
Slips are slips.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you mean by that?
I'm assuming that they're not gonna be made for kids.
No, guaranteed to be a S show.
Well, it depends what the goal is. Okay, but to answer your question, essentially someone who cannot control themselves or someone who's super unpredictable.
I think we should have the ability to sniff that out beforehand.
Right.
So I definitely am not suggesting we basically just like flip a coin or do Russian roulette or something and just randomly pick people from a lottery box. That's not what I'm suggesting. No. But what intrigues me is the voice and opinions and views of just your absolutely ordinary person. People who don't have any organizations that they are running, or, you know, like really just, I go to work every day, you know, just basically like me.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
because I don't see us both as being, or at least myself, I don't see myself as being like an intellectual. I'm just a guy who has opinions and is curious about a lot of different stuff.
Right.
And so while I think I could profit from talking to like an academic or someone who's very adept in certain subjects, they don't have much to gain off of talking to me.
Correct.
And because they've probably talked to a bunch of people like me, and, you know, they kind of know what I'm all about.
They think they do.
Yeah. At least to the extent that they're interested in me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these are generally the people that are represented on podcasts. Basically, people that have
a public presence.
For one reason or another. And on a lot of podcasts, that presence is based off of their intellectuality.
Yes.
Or their academic prowess.
Or political standing.
Right.
For example.
But like you said, you don't see very often just your everyday person.
Us.
Yeah. You don't see us on the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can't. It's hard to judge someone just from how they present themselves in a podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe a lot of the people that come on podcasts are more like to us than not.
That's fair.
But yeah, there's no way to know for sure. And generally, they are somewhat well known.
The people who come onto podcasts?
Right.
Yeah, generally they are. Yeah. And I would like to almost break that.
Yeah.
That's my point, is that's the cliche almost. It's like the stereotype.
Yeah.
If you're going to go and put your head out in the public domain, then you're probably someone who's done it before and done it for some time. Yeah. And I would like to break that. The only place that is kind of not the case is when the media go out and then just sort of like stick the microphone in front of people's faces and say, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Which a lot of people are interested in that.
Yeah.
You know?
But I wouldn't really call that a podcast. That's the thing.
No. I mean, the opinions of the average Bob and Mary Jane.
You have that quite often where even in podcasts, you have people calling in. But that's basically like a radio show at that point.
Sometimes.
But you can adapt it to a podcast.
Now I see more the Q&A sessions. That's sort of a thing where they say, message us your questions, and then they do a...
Yeah.
But of course they get to choose which questions they address and so on, which is okay, fair enough.
Living on YouTube, people can say a lot of things that will get you shut the fuck down. Yeah,
you got to filter somehow.
Yeah.
So, but
unless you curate the list of people that call in.
Yeah, you'd have to have a switchboard, like someone else picking up the line and kind of filtering the trolls out and whatever.
That'd be tough though.
Yeah, No, I'm not saying we got to go down that path, at least not initially. But so I'm just sharing where I come from regarding the idea of a podcast.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where I come from, because really, so what happens is typically there's something going on in the world and we're told about it primarily from the media. Mm-hmm. And what the media tends to do is attempt to give the public an idea of what the public thinks.
Yeah.
Right? So they will go out there and they will interview someone. They'll say, oh, here's Mr. M or whatever, 26 years old or 48 years old or whatever. And they will do an interview. And of course, you don't know the length and breadth of what Mr. M has said. You only know what the media has told you he said.
Yeah.
Right? But it's presented as this is what the average bloke out there thinks. And if you watch TV, which I don't do much, but whenever I do, again, where is the average person represented?
Yeah.
It's very seldom.
Yeah.
And if they are, for example, various shows like here in Switzerland. Oh yes, by the way, we are in Switzerland. We should have mentioned that before.
I mean,
of all places.
I guess it is kind of relevant, yeah.
Yeah. It will become relevant.
It will be, yeah.
In the context of things.
I'm sure a lot of our content will revolve around Swiss subjects.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's another very interesting point of this, is where is the English-speaking Swiss, right? Like
everywhere.
No, like the representation of what's going on in Switzerland for the English-speaking world, essentially.
Fair point. Yeah.
That's pretty. There's not much there.
That's true.
You have like Swiss Info English, but of course, as anyone should know who pays any attention to Swiss Info, which is actually the name of a media broadcast, that's part of the Swiss version of BBC. Essentially, it's government-run media. So yeah, so the idea of bringing in the ordinary person and having chats with them, I find that interesting. How exactly we would go about doing that, finding those kinds of people. I think given, for example, like you mentioned, the What's Up Burn group, which, by the way, guys, is a very cool group, in a Facebook group in Bern for people who are living in Bern. It's a very international group. There's over 2,000 members in that group. I think by the time we're ready to kind of do this kind of thing, like having people on the show, I don't think we're gonna lack for options.
No. Although I think that is, at least how I imagine it, it's not going to be our initial content, talking with a third party. It could be. Yeah, just to mention, we are half an hour in now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so, content is like.
Yeah, it's
huge. It's like,
yeah.
Once we get that,
we're gonna spend the most time on that.
Yeah.
But like eventually, we're gonna start talking about like how the duration.
Yeah.
How long the duration should be, and I guess today we just roll until we can't no more.
Yeah. We have our snacks, our provisions, so
our tent in the corner,
our whiskey somewhere.
Yeah. When we define that we can drink whiskey on stream, then I'll grab the bottle.
There you go. So we'll leave that to the last question, because otherwise
we won't get through the rest.
All right. Do you want to jump to duration?
Just
we can jump around.
Out of the way.
Yeah.
I see most podcasts being 1 to 2 hours. I almost see none of them go over the 2 hour mark. I think most people, they'll get sick of someone's voice if they've been hearing them for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
And also just your attention span at that point, it's just going in one ear and out the other. And if they're actually talking about specific like subjects, if they're not just rattling off stuff, you have these ones, they'll make it a little bit more concise, because otherwise people can't concentrate for that long. So I think an hour is a good thing to aim for. I know from our talks in the past that we have the ability to talk for a very long time about things. So yeah, I'm not sure how to predict how long we're gonna need, or the ideal duration to actually have us cover subjects.
Would you say, for example, if we said like 1 hour minimum, 2 hours maximum, something like that?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not, if we go a little bit over 2 hours, it's not the end of the world. But or if we have like a interesting guest, or maybe two on, hey, maybe we'll do like a marathon of 3 hours. Something like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, 3 hours,
with a break in between, of course.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Because if you're just doing that all in one go, the last hour is gonna have diminished returns.
Oh yeah, that's usually the case.
I mean, if that's the point, and
especially if there's whiskey involved.
Yeah. If that's the point, then fair enough. Yeah.
But in general, like 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah. I think at some point we should define, at least for regular shows, a pretty definitive time, a pretty definitive duration. Because a lot of people, like, if they have a task that's going to take an hour, they're more inclined to listen to a podcast that goes an hour than one that goes 1.5, because they don't want to have that last half hour cut off.
Okay.
Right. So basically, if they know this is the podcast that always takes this amount of time, then they can sort of allot
the consistency of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I know for some, even a lot of YouTubers, they do this even just for their videos. They have always like the 10-minute or the 15-minute videos, so that people can allot it better.
Right.
And the channels that don't do that, they're generally kind of annoying.
You mean
Even-
where they splice up a long content into 10, 15
No,
minute
if
segments?
they just they'll have videos that are 5 minutes and
Mhm.
other ones that are 40 minutes,
Mhm.
and so I never know, do I actually have time to watch them?
Mhm.
It's like sometimes I do a task that takes 20 minutes and I have to do something that actually requires my concentration,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to watch a 40-minute video halfway and then just cut it off.
Right.
Or at least I'd prefer to watch a
Mhm.
20-minute video.
Yeah.
But for now, on 1 to 2 hours.
1 to 2 hours.
I'd
Yeah.
be good with that.
And duration. I don't know where this question comes in. Duration / content, but you kind of touched on it when you said when we talk to each other, sometimes it goes on for, well, seems like it could go on for hours and hours.
Which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah. But in that vein, do we want to talk about how we make sure that we don't get that we don't end up spending, I don't know, the entire time talking about one thing? So like, for example, there was I told you before about this this relatively new TV broadcast in Germany, where they have 4 guests. I think it's well, I don't want to do any promo for them. I think they're good, but
What promo?
maybe I shouldn't do. So I'm just gonna play it safe and not do any promo. But so there's one host, 4 guests, and each guest has, I believe, 15 minutes, and they sort of like they bring a topic. The topic is introduced by them, not by the host. Like the host will say, okay, now it's over to you. What did you bring us today? And then the person, the guest, introduces their own topic, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
Because if you're bringing it, you should introduce it and make your case. You should be allowed to. And then it's talked about for something like 10, 15 minutes. And then it goes to the next guest.
And they have their own topic?
Yeah. And
okay, so it's
and
really
they all
just...
yeah, and they all get to comment on the topic that that person brings up. And then once they all kind of have their back and forth, it's like, okay, now we're moving on to the next one.
Okay, so this is like rapid fire debates?
Less debate and more discussion. The guests are typically not that they don't all see perfectly eye to eye on everything, but they're also not terribly disagreeable, that they're just like at complete opposite ends of the spectrums.
Okay.
But I would say it's more discussion than debate most of the time.
That is an interesting format.
But the kind of where they splice it up and they
but then you need multiple
topics,
which isn't a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good idea, especially it does help to structure things so you don't go overboard in certain areas. Although if you do want to talk about one subject for 15 minutes, you're not going to get that far or too in depth.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go with 1 or 2 topics over the duration of 1 to 2 hours, I think it just requires that the hosts sort of monitor the time, and if one part of the discussion is dragging on, then sort of like, okay, let's move on to the next bit.
Yeah.
And also at a certain cutoff point, basically say, all right, let's start building our conclusion.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's usually what would happen also, is they would be like, okay, final word.
Closing statements.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if we're saying 1 to 2 hours, if we're giving ourselves that bracket, and we said, for example, each of us brings 2 topics to the podcast.
Yeah.
Then at the very least, we're splicing up 1 hour in 4, right? Which is 15 minutes. But we said 1 to 2 hours. So it could go, basically every topic could get up to half an hour, and you could still get through 4 topics.
If we decide that our
If.
podcast will go to 2 hours consistently.
Yeah. Which, honestly, it's not that hard to do.
No, it's really not, especially if you have 4 topics.
Well, yeah, or even just 2. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we could easily, well, depending on the topic, if we're talking about fishing lure, what kind of fishing lure to use to catch perch, that might not take very long.
Anything could take a long time.
Okay.
Well, it depends on how much you allow rabbit holes.
Oh.
If you allow, like, talking about
Rabbit
perch,
holes,
and then talking about how you get the bait, and then how that's farmed, and then maybe it's other perch that are being used as bait, and then how do you get those perch?
See, that's yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I get your point. All right. Well, but okay. Is there any topic that?
Although that, okay, so that format requires that there is specifically defined topics.
Yeah.
That we're gonna hit at certain intervals. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of podcasts I see, I don't know if this is also what they do, because a lot of the time they don't tell you which topics they're gonna hit when. They just sort of go, and then they hit them when they hit them. But it feels like in a lot of them that they just start off like an interview form, and then they just let themselves both rabbit hole as much as they want, and it's just a talk.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much overlap we have with what we're watching, like you and I, what kind of shows we're watching. Do you watch Brett and Heather?
I expect there's not a crazy amount of overlap there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But have you ever watched a Tim Pool show or
a little bit? Yeah.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
You've watched Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Brett and Heather?
Weinstein? A little bit. From the Dark Horse.
Yep.
Podcast.
Dark Horse podcast. I mean,
Abba and Preach.
Abba and
I've
Preach.
been watching quite a bit.
What are the two?
H3H3.
Okay, that one I don't know.
Yeah. I don't.
What's the British one? The 2 guys from the UK. The one's a Russian, and the other guy's British.
Maybe
it's
I don't
pretty
know
funny.
that one.
It's like white text on a red background. I can't think of it right now. That's pretty fun. But they're like comedians, so they really know the
white text.
But for example, Joe Rogan's show is typically he will have a guest on, and it's pretty much free reign for the guest to just, have at it. Like,
Yeah.
There's not.
It really sounds like a conversation, and
it's really more of a conversation. And of course, Joe Rogan will have known a bit about the person, and he'll probably have some questions, regarding specific things. But typically, it's really just like a convo.
But again, these are celebrities, so anything you can do to provoke them to say anything is a win.
Yeah.
Especially if you let them sort of just like stew a little bit and say things that they haven't said before. You get to have it, of course.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
First time. Yeah. But then again, you have, Tim Pool's show. And again, he's got his 4 people who are always there. God, what's the guy with long hair's name? Oh. Ian. There you go, Ian. Remembered you. Ian. And Tim Pool definitely has things prepared for the show.
That seems to be his structure. Is very like topic oriented.
Yeah, but he's also got Luke there, and Luke's also got topics, and Ian's also got topics. Although they're kind of always segueing into each other, and then away, and then back to Tim Pool, and then Tim Pool will say, "Let's read this article," and then he'll go through the article, and then some commentary will come from the guest, and then it'll go back to Tim Pool. Then Luke will jump in. Ian will say something about graphite, and and so on. It's a real fun show. Their way of structuring things is done in such a way that you almost don't notice it's structured. It's very subliminal.
Yeah.
It's very flowing. It keeps going.
Which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim has a really good way of segueing from one thing, and then he'll just go into the next thing. It says, "Oh, like so and so said," and
yeah,
you know, Luke
as host, that's sort of your job to steer things in a fluid way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then again, there are those shows like Brett and Heather's Dark Horse podcast, which are very obviously structured, but they also have a nice way of going from one thing to the other. But it is definitely like, okay, so here's a topic. Okay, we've finished
which you would expect.
Yeah, let's go to the
They're both very academic and
structured people.
Scientists on a podcast, they're gonna structure it.
Yes. So, I mean, if we're giving ourselves up to 2 hours, which again I think is a very easy time span to spend. We could easily do 2 to 4 topics, and I think if one comes with a topic and they haven't really done any research on it, then that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Because then you're just spitballing and
like,
but I also don't want to come with like, oh, I've spent 2 months researching this thing and because again, it's supposed to be kind of, at least for me, I want it to be kind of off the cuff, kind of like, it doesn't, like my point in all of this is, I don't have to be right.
Yeah.
For me, the point of this kind of thing is to show people thinking. People just...
Yeah.
Also, if it's just a gut feeling, like, oh, well, I just don't like that at all. And then you say, like, oh, okay, why? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, that's okay, too. It's not,
Yeah.
But it also doesn't make things hugely interesting either, if that's always the case.
It doesn't contribute to what we're trying to do. Trying to explain why you think things is the most useful thing, instead of just being like, I don't really care.
And the funny thing is that as much as people think about something, there's always going to be that person out there who can take you to the limit that you've thought about it, and then you'll be stumped. There'll always be that person.
True.
Even if you're a scientist, there'll always be another scientist or someone else in academia who will take you to the limit, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I've thought about that as well. Definitely the preparation thing is an important thing. Then, you have to think about how much time you want to invest. And if you have multiple topics, like 4 topics, then that's a lot of time to invest in researching.
Depending on the topics,
Yeah. So then you have the time actually prepping the podcast, doing, if we're going in that route, doing marketing, looking into the social media, then actually doing the podcast, and then researching for the podcast. It's not a meaningless amount of time to invest, right? So we have to take that into good consideration. There's also the thing that he's obviously older than I am.
Oh. Meaning? Where are you going with this?
Meaning you can visibly see he's got years on me.
Ears or years?
Years.
Oh, I thought you said ears.
Ears.
He's got ears on me.
What the fuck? No, the point of that being is that I'm not trying to burn. Your boom arm is inverted.
Which, this?
Like, look.
This is true.
Your kneecap is missing.
Oh.
It's like,
it's all right.
All right, it's fine.
It works.
No, just the fact that you have a lot more experience in life than me, and you're obviously also much more into researching than I am. I mean, to me, you're more into that. Your knowledge base and your base of understanding is going to have a lot more behind it.
Okay.
So
this was actually going somewhere good.
Yeah.
Kind of.
No, I was just it was just randomly saying you.
He's older than I am, ergo.
Ergo. No, and that's not to say that just because you're older than I am means that you're going to grasp everything better than I am.
Correct. Yeah.
But it will mean that for a lot of things that are based on prior knowledge, you're going to know more statistics, you're going to know more of the philosophy. And that I can see could lead to a little bit of an imbalance if it's just you and I.
Yep.
If we're discussing things and just sort of sharing what we're thinking.
Yep.
Fine. But if we, which I'm not opposed to necessarily, but if we also go in the direction of debating some things that we disagree on, if there are things that are not based in nuance and if they're based in some kind of fact,
objective,
yeah, where we can both agree on what the objective is,
yeah,
but we don't know how to get there,
yeah,
I can see you doing a better job in that.
I get what you're saying, and maybe it's, I mean, it would make like at a neutral stance it would make sense, like de facto it would, yeah, okay, that would make sense. On the other hand, my objective is less to be right than to come to a closer understanding of something like the truth. So
Might as well, yeah.
So what I see possibly happening is that, let's say, for instance, we say 1 to 2 hour podcast. We're trying to get to 2 hours. I think that's pretty sensible. For like, if you want to really get into depth on topics.
Yeah.
For example, if we said, okay, each of us picks per week, we pick, if we're going to do it weekly, each of us picks one topic. So then we just have 2 topics.
Yep.
And those 2 topics are sort of like the meat. Sorry, vegans. Of.
Vegan.
No, I'm not sorry. I love meat and I'm proud of it. It's the core. It's the sort of central body of the podcast, of the episode, of the show. Before and after that, we could do different stuff, right? So we could have sort of like one thing that's possible is that we end up having at some point sponsors. So that we'll also need to leave a little window at the front. No?
Yeah.
Right. For like a 10-minute or so.
Sometimes halfway through.
Or sometimes halfway through. It's a break or so. And then you could have sort of like a segment at the end, 10-15 minutes, if time allows, where you kind of like, okay, what are the random things you saw in the last week that kind of caught your attention or that you want to comment on? And it doesn't have to be anything pre-planned. It's just sort of like off the cuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw this dog and it was like this, and it was, just random stuff.
So basically like little segments for just shooting the shit.
Yeah. Just but what I anticipate happening, or what would be quite interesting to see happen, is, let's say we bring up these 2 main topics and then we're discussing them, right? We discuss one and we sort of reach the point where we're like, okay, we've said all we needed to say on that. Maybe we still don't see eye to eye on that, which is totally fine. Or what I see also happening is we realize that there's more to it, right? So you bring me to a point where I'm like, I didn't think about that, right? Yeah. But instead, of course, at that point, I'm going to be like, I want to research this now, right? But it's not the time for that.
Yeah.
But what would be interesting is if in the following episode, it kind of...
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we sort of like say, okay, we're putting a, what do you say? We're putting a
rain check. I don't know.
Rain check on that one. We'll come back to it in the next in another episode, for example.
Okay. Yeah.
That's one thing that I don't see happen a lot on various podcasts, is it's sort of like it's discussed and then it's ended, and then maybe you hear about it way later when you've forgotten what they said before.
Yeah. I mean, I can see a reason for that being that, I mean, generally when people look for digital entertainment, they're looking for things that are new, or things that they know, but that consistently bring something new.
Yeah.
And if they see the same topic twice in a row from the same people talking about it,
Yep.
they are probably less likely to click on it the second time than they were the first.
Correct.
Unless they were super interested in it the first time.
Right. I didn't mean that it comes up in the next one as one of the core topics. I meant that it comes up again there to sort of say, like, for example, if we're talking about what lure is best for perch, and I'm like, yeah, this and this and this, and you say, yeah, but what if the perch is living in, I don't know, water that is this much alkaline or acidic or whatever?
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh? Why would that make any difference? And you say, well, you know, and so you pique my interest, right, on that, and we sort of say, okay, we're not going to look up right now that point, rain check, and then in the next one we have a segment where we can bring in sort of like, on that note, this is what I found out.
I think that's a good idea. If we have a segment where we can SDS. I can only say the S word once in every podcast.
STS.
I've burned it.
Yeah.
Then we can bring new stuff in there, or we can rehash old stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word rehash, but I guess we come back to old stuff in case anything's developed there. Yeah. Okay. I like that idea. Okay. So are we leaning more towards 2-hour ones now?
I think so, because I think really it's so easy to get to 2 hours if you're...
Do we want to try 1.5 first?
I think we don't have to, like, 1.5 to 2 hours. Say 1.5 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone chatted, I don't know, VURFYI. You want to explain what that means? Ver for your information.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know either.
WER?
No. W.
Oh, VUR.
No, not W. Yeah, I can't read. I'm illiterate.
VUR. Vur.
I don't know.
I have no idea what that means. Maybe you can explain that, Mr. or
Mrs.
What's that? Taghi Malaku. Molaku. I'm probably pronouncing that. Butchering that.
How to say your name as well.
Huh?
Tell us how to say your name as well.
Yeah. Okay, so 1.5 to 2 hours. So content. Yeah. Are we on that sort of like each of us brings 2 topics a week? I mean, 1 topic a week?
One topic a week, yeah. And then we can have, like, depending on how long we take to get through those, we can have a segment where we just talk about stuff. Yeah. Although a week thing, might need to look into that one.
Okay, so that's the question of scheduling.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think about scheduling?
I think we can do that after we look at the content. Because the actual content defines how much research we have to do. And
1 topic each.
Yeah.
Is there more to say about content at the moment? If we just...
Well, yeah, what topics they are.
Any.
So we can talk about what happened to Beyonce last week, or talk about what we think about this round of voting in Switzerland. It's just basically...
I mean, if you want to talk about what happened to Beyonce last week...
No, but that's the thing. Do you want to talk about it? Because I'm not going to, like... I want there to be subjects that interest both of us. Like, also for myself, I don't want to be talking about something I'm completely uninterested in, because I'm probably not going to be able to say much about it.
What if we informed each other of the topics?
Yeah, we're not going to, like, ta-da, surprise. Yeah.
No, but, like, let's say we do the podcast every Sunday. If you come to me if on Monday, the following Monday, we each tell one another, okay, this is my topic of interest for the next podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the time then to tell you, okay, we can talk about Beyonce, but I'm not going to have much to say.
Can we take Rihanna instead? Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Because like, if I come to you and say, hey, can we talk about this new drama on Twitch?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, probably, I have nothing to say about that. Yeah.
I mean, it might be interesting, though. Maybe there's some ethical or philosophical discussion to be had there. I don't know. I think all kinds of things are really interesting. Like you said, you never know where you're going to go, right? You might bring something up that on the surface seems really flippant, but then you start talking about it and then you find out,
There's usually always some deeper meaning you can talk about and basically everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
We could also do it this way, that for example, again, if on Monday we tell each other, okay, here's 3 topics, and which one of these 3 would you prefer? We could also do it like that.
Yeah.
Or which one do you definitely not want to talk about, for example? Or, yeah, I mean, what do you think?
I think if we have a list where we can constantly put both of our ideas in and just basically put them in there, then we will basically have a pool of ideas that we can pick from.
Okay.
And some of them might be only relevant for a certain amount of time, so we'd have to decide on those first.
Yeah. That's something too. Like if we have something that just, it's a bit tough though. See, that's another thing of like how precise or how specific does the topic description have to be, right? Like if I just say to you, I want to talk about politics, it's like, okay, great, you're giving me a lot to work from, right?
I mean, if you're just talking about politics in general, it's like, do you like politics?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to be as specific as
possible. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I said, for example, I want to talk about the COVID situation, would that be specific enough, or?
Well, my impression of that topic is not to go specifically in nitty gritty in any area, like predetermined, where your goal there is just sort of go over the thing, and if we find something to talk
interesting, then we go further. Okay.
But if you come there with like a pre-prepared, very specific area of the COVID situation that you want to talk about, then that should be defined instead of
right. Yeah, of course. Like if I said the topic is I don't know, ICU, what's it called?
Occupation.
Is it occupation? Yeah. Belastung. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's specific enough, right? Because then we're talking about. I mean that's, I guess, as specific as it can get. Okay. So do we want to notify each other? First of all, do we want to do it every week? I think less than once a week is too little.
Yeah. So my instinct there is doing a 2-hour podcast every week is stretching it a little bit. So I think if we're doing it weekly, it's tough to say beforehand, honestly. Like in the moment, it'll probably feel a lot different than me just sort of predicting it, because it comes down to the prep. Like actually sitting down and talking for a couple hours isn't that big of a deal. It's sort of making sure that, first of all, that I'm here on that specific time and that everything is set up by then. Yeah. Including like my research and all that. And same for you.
Right. But if we have only one topic, which we would, I mean, well, two topics, but one that's coming from the other person. So if you bring up a topic, I would assume you already know a thing or three about it.
Like I said, like I'm not that big on research to be
Yeah,
completely
but
honest.
this whole thing to me is less of a debate and more of a discussion.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that we have to, you know what I mean, be researched up to the hilt.
Yeah.
So I would, yeah. So sometimes I like to just wing it too. Sometimes I like to okay, tell me what's up with that. And then I don't know anything about it, but then I'm just like teasing like more info and sort of picking the person's brain and well, if that's the case,
not just convince people or tell
Yeah,
people what to know.
Yeah.
But if I actually do feel like I'm not that adept on a subject, I'll still talk about it, but I will be getting more from them than they will from me, most likely. If they know more about it than I do.
If they do, right? Yeah. And if they're also drawing the right conclusions, because just the fact that you know a lot of stuff, or the fact that you have a lot of information in your brain, doesn't necessarily mean that you're coming to the right conclusions. No. That's an interesting discussion already.
But they can educate me on what they know. But they can still educate me on what they know.
Absolutely, yeah. They can share their information with you.
Yeah. Which I also often have
have
issues immediately believing.
Yeah, you have to take it all with a kilo to a grain of salt. Yeah. Once a week, max 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 topics. Well, one from the other person. So.
Yeah. If we.
And sometimes we can also just do the podcast and say, okay, we had a couple topics, but something else just came up. This week, the whole thing with Djokovic, what the hell's going on there, and so not too set in stone, but
Yeah. And if we have spontaneous things, like even things that just popped up that morning, maybe in the news, like we still have that segment where we just STS.
Yeah.
The STS segment.
The STS segment.
And yeah, anything could be brought up there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And we don't have to, like, the topic you bring up, we don't have to go on for half an hour, 45 minutes, or the topic I come up. We just, okay, here's some info. What do you think? What do I think? And if it's finished in 20 minutes, and we move on.
Yeah. There's no point in dragging it out longer.
No, it's like... Wait, could you reiterate that?
Do you have anything else to say on that, please?
Are you sure?
No, say something. Yeah.
Okay, so what we have, scheduling. Let's say once a week. Do we want to say which day? That's probably a good idea.
Well, most social events happen evenings, so we should probably not do it in an evening. I think most of them also happen on Saturdays or Fridays. Okay,
but how many? I mean, we would do it live.
Yeah.
Right? But
it's also just for us, so we don't have our lives too impacted by the schedule. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about a weekday evening?
That works. Yeah.
Because as I'm a father of 3 children. I also like to do stuff, amazingly enough, I like to do stuff with my family on the weekends. And Sunday is sort of the family day where we would go out and do a hike or something.
A weekday evening?
A weekday.
So after work you'd...
Yeah. So I'd be coming with one hand tied behind my back.
If you want to do that.
I think I could.
2 hours.
For the cause.
Stuck with me.
Huh?
2 hours stuck with me after work.
No, look, we could try. We could try that. My Saturday's difficult because that's the one day in the week I'm not working. So I gotta do everything else that needs to be done on a Saturday. Although, if we know this is happening, and then sometimes the weather's better on a Saturday, and it's not going to be so good on a Sunday, and then we're like, let's go out Saturday afternoon, go somewhere for the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of like to leave my Saturdays free and my Sundays, of course.
Saturdays and Sundays, yeah.
But
I mean, Friday evening would be, I assume for you, would be the ideal.
no.
No?
No.
Okay.
Friday evening, I'm really like up to here.
Is it after the whole week?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to say the word, but.
Hey, but if there's always whiskey there, then.
Okay. Oh, I gotta think about
You're
that.
getting a call from one of your offspring.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna decline that.
Like he knows that we're streaming
he knows,
now.
and I'm surprised that he's not watching. Maybe poor guy probably doesn't even have the link.
No one's watching.
No one's watching.
I need to
Except
find
for
your friends.
Tagi Molaku. Do you know who that is?
Nope. Do you know who that is?
Raymond just put in signal. It depends on the topic in it. I guess he's watching.
Is he? Or maybe he's watching with Serena.
Oh, maybe. Got my family watching at home.
Write something in the chat.
Yeah, if you guys are watching, put something in the chat.
Just say hi.
In the YouTube chat. Where were we? Serena says he's watching on his phone. Okay.
So who counts as a viewer?
By the way, Serena's my wife. You guys are like, who's Serena? Serena. Is that like Siri?
you guys.
Siri, but
I'm pretty sure I'm one of the viewers and Serena is the other one.
Nah, he's watching, apparently.
Okay. Good for him.
Sidetracked it.
Yeah, the schedule.
Yes.
Schedule. So Friday, you were interested in the whiskey.
What day is good for you?
Well, I work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I generally have to get up, well, every second week I have to get up quite early on Tuesday. So I wouldn't like to podcast on Monday evening.
All right, Thursday evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's saying he wants to chat, but his phone has no live chat.
Yes, it does.
It does. You just have to. You have to do something, right?
There should be a live chat button if you're in full screen.
All right. Okay, so we'll start with Thursday evening. I think that's cool.
Yep.
Because then what's nice about that too, I think it takes quite a few hours after the live stream. It takes a few hours, sometimes even like overnight, for the live stream to then be like processed by YouTube, and then it's available for watching, no?
No. It's
Really?
immediately.
Is it?
Yeah. It's only when you upload a YouTube video.
Okay.
Because YouTube processes it live.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I heard wrong.
Because they have this DVR feature where you can be watching live, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not watching live anymore, you can pause it, and then, because YouTube is recording it also live, you can rewind the live stream. So YouTube has saved that.
That's strange though, because I don't know which podcaster said it, but they said like that it takes several hours until, or like an hour or two for the live stream to be available.
I have to see. They may be right about longer ones. I only noticed that on the 8-minute. One.
Okay, maybe if you go over a certain amount of time, then they. Yeah, I don't know. All right, but in any case, it would be ready for the weekend. That was what I was gonna say. Is that then it's ready for the weekend, and you know, people can have it on the weekend.
Yeah,
so that's cool. He's watching in Chrome, not the YouTube app. That's why it
should work everywhere.
Okay, so we got that. Name? That's an easy one. Do we want to just leave it?
Doing a podcast. I like that name. The only thing that you mentioned earlier is the redundancy.
No, because
Like-
you were gonna say, because I was saying map and then DAP,
Yeah.
and then you said DAP podcast. That's why I was saying doing a podcast.
Yes.
Aha. Okay.
So in general,
So we
you
just
would
call it
have to
doing
include the name in the description of what you're talking about. So like,
DAP.
the music of doing a podcast. But you can't call it the anything because there's a podcast in the name.
So the name would have to be doing a.
Exactly. And then it's just kind of weird. So having podcast in the name, I see this quite often actually, that they do that. The thing podcast.
Well, like Dark Horse podcast.
Yeah.
So
But then they
it's-
can say the Dark Horse podcast. But you can't say the doing a podcast. It's
Dark Horse. Okay. Yeah, that's a problem. So
doing a podcast is also quite vague. Is there any running trend?
I kind of like the vagueness of it, though.
I like the vagueness of it as well because we're not trying to do anything specific.
No.
The only thing that we've mentioned as sort of what we can see is now as being a running theme is just the average Joe. The average Joe podcast.
But then we don't want to be discriminatory against the
No, we're
Jills.
average Joes.
Oh. Two Joes. The Two Joes podcast. Okay.
I don't know if we also want to make it like super marketable. Because like doing a podcast, what I mean by marketable is like something that sounds interesting.
Yeah. No, I
If it was
agree.
just,
Okay.
like, the Vince and Emmanuel podcast, no one gives a shit.
Yeah. All right. I think we both agree we got to change the name. Anyway,
Yeah.
that name was not really a name.
I liked it, but it's just not that functional if you're trying to talk about it. Do we want to
Okay.
do it now or do we want to brainstorm?
So do we just want to say then, I'm just going to write here, change the name. Yeah? We agree that the name needs to be changed. Because, yeah. And then we can both brainstorm together and individually and see what we come up with.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Serena says doing a podcast sounds good. I like it. Yeah, it does. It's just talking about it in the tense doesn't work.
It'll create difficulty later, I think. Or right away.
Yeah. Welcome to the doing a podcast.
Yeah.
You would always have to cut
Yeah.
out the. And the is it sounds nice.
Yeah.
The podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Welcome to doing a podcast. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. It's not wrong, but it sounds wrong.
Okay. Change the name. Done. What do we have so far? Duration between 1 and 2 hours. Content, one topic each. Do we need to say anything else about content?
If we're talking about
Inform.
like the guidelines, but you have that as a separate thing.
That was the code of conduct.
Code of conduct.
Do we swear yes or no?
Yes.
Yes?
In general, I personally am interested in creating content that is as least filtered as possible.
Okay.
So basically skirting the YouTube guidelines. Not going overboard, but essentially swearing where appropriate. We don't, I mean, I'm a part of the younger generation, you say. So I'm not that opposed to swearing. I don't really.
No, look, I can.
Where appropriate.
I can swear very
I think.
competently, put it that way.
Yeah.
You can ask my wife.
Not me, but I just.
No, but in dialogue, I really prefer not to swear. But
I don't adhere to that.
huh?
I can.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
I understand.
Fucking swear. But...
No. I have no problem with swearing, except if it's just
Where necessary.
almost every other sentence, like
Yeah.
F, S, MF,
So-
whatever.
Right. And
When you cannot express yourself without swearing, to me that's like, oh, and that's another thing.
yeah.
I really hate the way that I communicate using the words right and like.
But it's so normal. I mean,
It's
the right
not.
thing I don't notice that much, but the like thing for American English speakers, it's like so normal. Yeah, I did that intentionally, actually.
I hate when I do it.
Yeah, but
It's a
when
filler.
it is,
It
but
shouldn't be, but it.
I mean, sometimes it can be actually really helpful to put the like there because it sounds weird without it. But yeah,
Well,
when
you
it's
could just say,
constantly
for
there.
example.
Yeah,
That's the thing. There are words
like
that used to be used for those points in a sentence, and now we just throw like.
but we're not
in
gonna
there.
ban people saying like.
No. That's not. I was
Yeah,
just saying that.
yeah.
Like, that's something that I'm trying to work on, is not use the words like and right so much.
Good for you.
And also starting a sentence with so. You know what I
Jordan
mean?
Peterson does that. No, he ends
everyone
it.
does.
He ends it with so.
That's true.
So.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you just
But if
pick up where he left off?
Right. But if someone asks you a question and then you start explaining your side or your position with so,
It's not bad.
I didn't used to do that a few years ago. That's the thing. Also with like.
I used to say like crazy often.
Yeah. I find that when I stop and think a bit more before speaking, I do it a lot less.
Yeah, because like is like saying
Yeah.
It's a filler. Like
Yeah.
like.
Like.
It is
Okay, so swearing is
Untersagt. No.
is okay
Yeah, it's okay.
in moderation.
I'm just imagining we have some funny character on, and like I agree with what you said. Like someone that cannot express themselves without swears is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Although if someone wants to, I'm fine with it. As long as it's not like
Yeah.
a super significant part of what they're saying is just their swears.
Yeah.
If it's just like a little garnishing on what they say, then
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Swearing is okay in moderation.
Yeah.
Is that savvy?
Yeah.
Something like that. Any other code of conduct we want to put in there? Alcohol. Smoking.
Well,
Do you
when
plan...
it comes to the code of conduct, just to overarching thing, when it comes to YouTube, when you say certain things, YouTube doesn't like people saying those things. So swears are one.
Yeah.
And talking about controversial subjects are not. And so even when people swear and they talk about controversial subjects, they'll either bleep out when they say those words, or they'll use like, you know what I mean? Just avoid saying the words altogether. I personally, I mean, I see why they do that. It's just because they want to do well in the algorithm.
Yep.
But at the same time, it also feels to me like you're giving in.
Okay, self-censoring.
Yeah.
Self-filtering.
I don't want to self-censor unless I feel like what I'm saying is actually a negative thing for people to hear.
Okay, but that's why we're saying swearing is okay in moderation.
Right.
Is there anything in the terms and conditions regarding smoking and drinking?
I believe if you smoke or drink on stream, then you have to say it's 18 plus.
Is that okay?
I believe so. I'll have to double check it.
Okay.
Maybe you can write that down to double check those terms and conditions. Just in general, rehashing the terms and conditions is a good idea. One thing I wasn't aware of that I heard about recently is apparently you're not allowed to watch YouTube videos while live streaming on YouTube. Yeah, I know, right? If you're live streaming on YouTube, you can't stream a YouTube video.
Another one.
Yeah.
Why?
I haven't confirmed this, but apparently, like, people get banned for doing that. Like, very prominent people. I think it's just because you're streaming content that isn't your own. Technically,
you mean you're not allowed to show stream?
You're not allowed, like, for instance, if I was to pull up here a video from Tim Pool or from Alan Preach, that would be going against TOS.
Okay, we have to look into that.
Yeah.
Because
it can be really useful sometimes to review something that someone said.
How can that be possible? I mean,
What?
it's content.
It's copyrighted content, but
yeah, but
to
under
me,
fair
it's-
use,
yeah,
if you
it
are
also seems like fair
commenting
use to
on
me.
it.
But
All right.
you gotta look into it. I might be.
Okay, so that would be.
Inconsistencies.
But is it only video that is on YouTube, or is it because?
So,
Well, okay. I was gonna
watch
say
Twitch.
why? How does it make sense? And I stopped.
yeah,
Done.
it sounds weird to me.
I was gonna say, what's the difference between showing any other video online? It's all content.
Yeah, but YouTube owns the stuff on it on
Okay.
YouTube.
So that would be under like streaming other video content. So look up
Yeah.
teens. Yeah.
And then like smoking and
Well, smoking and drinking, you said you're going to look it up.
yeah, but I think it's 18 plus.
Is that going to be a
Which-
problem?
Not to me, no. Because
It would just
let's be honest, anyone who has a phone now has an account that says 18 plus on it.
No, but I mean their
Not
Google
not
account.
saying that we should be encouraging that people under the age of majority make those accounts.
But I think it
But they
goes
do.
by what age is on your Google account, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've noticed this on a couple of my Google accounts that for watching videos that are age gated, YouTube will actually require me to show them a photo of my ID or like just a
Yeesh.
governmental ID.
Okay.
But it was only on certain accounts. On other ones, I am like, it's an 18 plus account.
Video content.
No. Like the account, I can watch any content on YouTube. There's like, it's registered as YouTube as an adult behind the account.
Yeah.
But I never had to actually prove it.
But
But on some accounts, I do have
what
to
you
prove
mean.
it.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
But so basically, if we smoke or drink on the show, and it is true that it's that means the video is not viewable to anyone under the age of 18, and that person has, for example, a Google account. It's a 17-year-old. They have a
Yeah.
Google account with the correct birth date in their account.
I have to wait a year.
Then they won't be able to see it.
No.
Right. Is that a problem?
I mean, it's not ideal. I did personally think that
Are there going to be
it's
that?
kind of fucking stupid if you're smoking and drinking. Oh, apparently, if you're 17, you can't see that.
Right. No. But what I mean is that a problem? Meaning, for us, do
I
we
would
think?
like 17-year-olds to be able to see it. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. 10-year-olds probably not. It's not for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Is
think
it a
young
big enough
teens-
problem that we want to say no smoking and no drinking? That's the crux question. I would say
I would
no.
love that freedom.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Okay. I would say no because I think most people who are going to watch our content are going to be probably 18 plus
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't foresee the majority of our viewership being under 18. Put it that way.
Yeah. The only caveat to that I can see is if we make a podcast with a topic that really does concern younger people,
Then we can say,
then that one we can just
yeah, we can say, okay, this time
abstain.
what I have in my paper bag
Yeah.
is orange juice or water.
We have a smoke machine in the corner so no one can see.
We'll make a way. Okay, so basically we're saying smoking and drinking, yes.
You want to reword that?
What?
Everyone should smoke and drink.
No, it's on the show. Smoking and drinking, yes.
Yeah.
In any case, look up T and C just to be sure. I'll put in brackets there.
Yeah, we can put in the corner, smoking kills and drinking also kills. Don't do as we do.
You know what also
Do
kills?
as we say.
Life.
Coronavirus.
Okay, anything else to content? One topic each. Swearing is okay. Smoking and drinking, yes. Streaming other video content, you're gonna look up that. Anything else for content? What about the thing of informing each other about an upcoming topic? Do you want to do that?
Tough.
Or
I mean, the easiest is if we have a list of things already.
Yeah.
So we don't have to ad hoc come up with stuff.
But we can each have we can have both. We can have a list of like all the things that we can think of at that time individually.
Yeah.
Or we can have it shared. And we can also
shared, I think would be best. Then
shared.
we can always see.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we can have sort of like you say, okay, this is my pick of the week.
Yeah.
Sort of like you pick something out or pick two things out. You know, and if I say, can we please not discuss that this week? You know, whatever.
Right.
You know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Sounds
okay.
good.
So
We just have to basically, an important thing is to decide on a topic at a certain point so we have enough time to prep.
correct.
If we're doing it on Saturday, on Thursday.
Then we have the weekend too, which is cool. Then we can.
Yeah.
Like.
I think if we say by Saturday or Sunday what topics that we want.
Right. Yeah.
Then Then we have the beginning of the week to do some research. And
or even like I would probably let you know by Friday evening or Saturday.
Yeah.
And then you would have already the weekend if you wanted to do some research, you know.
Yeah.
So you have. Okay, list of interest, shared list, right?
So do we want to say by Friday evening that we let each other know about topics?
So Thursday evening, the next day.
Or is that too early?
No, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Shared list of interesting topics. Inform. What is it? Topic for next show by Friday evening.
You don't use the 10-finger system.
The what now?
The 10-finger system.
Oh no. Okay. Anything else for content?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay, features. Features. So we have the live chat. I think we keep that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When it comes to monetization, I
That's
think
the
I'd leave
ads
that
thing,
in the
right?
beginning.
Hmm?
I'd leave the monetization in the beginning because first off, you're not going to be able to monetize content that has so low viewership, so there's no real point in rushing that. And yeah, I guess we should start talking about monetization where there's actually potential for
Monetization.
Yeah.
Okay, so what that means is start without ads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it would be cool if we had sponsors, then we don't have to do monetization at all.
That would be very nice. Then we have more freedom to say and do as we please.
Mm-hmm. Platforms. YouTube, obviously.
Gotta look at the TOS there to see if you're allowed to stream on multiple platforms.
Okay. What about non-streaming? So we'll say YouTube live streaming for now.
But we could upload the podcasts on multiple platforms. Absolutely.
Any that you wanna?
No.
You can think of.
I mean, I haven't researched any of the other ones, so I can't say. I mean, there are other ones like D Live was mentioned to me yesterday.
Odyssey.
And Odyssey, but I don't know if these are actually good platforms to put it on. I mean, more the merrier, but
I'm fairly certain that because like the Dark Horse podcast.
That one's on Odyssey.
Yeah, and I think they may even live stream on both. Because they always mention like we're also on Odyssey.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think you're limited in how many platforms you can stream to at the same time. Maybe, I'm not sure about this, if you're partnered with a platform, which we're not yet.
Okay, I'm putting down Odyssey, Rumble. What was another one you said? Just for
Live. We can look into all the different ones that we think are
the biggest ones.
Yeah.
The biggest ones.
The biggest ones.
Okay. Marketing. Anything else?
Anything else? Just social media. Instagram, Twitter. Twitter.
Okay. Do we marketing? I guess once we come up with a name, then we can open up accounts on stuff. Okay. Marketing on.
Speaking of which, we have been talking about a name for a while, not specifically, but yeah, we did think it would possibly be better to come up with a name not on stream, just in case someone thought they would be funny and take the name on. This is true.
So we're gonna keep that close to our chests. Okay. We have the features. Call in. We don't have to decide that right now if we don't want.
I think, at least for now, I can imagine if we're having guests, they'd most likely be remote. They wouldn't be actually here. And
until we get our own studio. Haha.
And I would like to utilize Discord for that. I like
Discord.
Yep.
Okay. Is that something anyone can use without an account? They can.
Yeah.
So you just send them a link, and any web browser they can just start.
Yeah, you can use it in your browser. Okay. It's just useful for me because I know all the moderation tools for it. And
the important thing is that you don't need an account.
Yeah. No, you don't.
Okay. So we're call in via Discord.
Might need to make a server, Discord server.
Screen share. That would be something cool to have. So, for example, if I come with a topic, I come with a laptop, and I would like to broadcast
instead of going on the computer and
correct.
Yeah. So you'd need OBS on your machine, and then there's a plugin for OBS.
Okay. So we can sort that out.
Yep.
So screen share.
I'll probably do the same thing with
my
laptop.
OBS. Yeah. Okay.
And then we don't really have to deal at all with having a mouse here, because the only thing that I actually need to do on this machine is change scene.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But I can just
do this. Alrighty. Screen share. There was something else. Any other features you can think of? Was there something else I was thinking of?
If people call in remotely via Discord, everything's taken care of there. If they want to share their screen, You can hear their voice. I can do all of that.
Okay. I forgot it now.
Features.
I don't remember. All right.
Okay.
So we have the opening and closing. I don't know if that's something we want to get into now. How we would introduce. Don't really.
I mean, there's usually either like an animation that plays, or there's a certain piece of music that plays.
Yeah. The countdown thing is quite.
Yeah. Or just a catchphrase.
Yeah.
People say, but we can. I think we have to figure out what the name is first, because it's part of the branding.
Right. But we could also, for example, we could also test out different, for example, an intro could be, welcome to the such and such podcast, episode such and such, title, and then you say the title.
Yeah.
I'm so and so, and then it goes to and you see that sometimes with dual hosts where they kind of split up the intro, and the one is like saying half of it, the other person says the other half, and it's like, I'm so and so, I'm so and so, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the layout of the podcast, and the layout
this week will be da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, or you just go into the actual layout. For example, that's something we haven't quite worked out, is what the actual layout of the podcast itself would be, like segmentation. We brush
intro, outro, I think is pretty much a given, and then the intro, I think, would kind of segue into the first topic that is mentioned in the intro. So like we would say, okay, today we're talking about this and this and this. And then if we have a sponsor, we say sponsored by da-da-da-da-da. In the beginning, we won't have a sponsor, so small talk in the beginning. Because it seems kind of weird to start the podcast. Maybe in the beginning of the podcast, we should do the STS part to sort of just get warmed up.
We could do it in both, before and after.
Before and after, yeah.
All right, so I'm just writing like basically a script, like, and then we could, for example, decide to chop it, like, so welcome to XXX podcast, XXX podcast.
That's not what it's gonna be called.
No. So episode 23, and then The Amazing Race, let's just say, as a title. Whatever. I'm just making like a made up title. And then it goes into I'm Vincent, and I am Emmanuel.
We need to come up with stage names.
Yeah. We could both be Bob.
No, Joe's.
Or Joe's.
I'm Joe, he's Joe. We're average Joes.
Yeah. We're your average Joes.
That's so stupid.
And then it goes on to something like, today we have our today our two topics are, and then we can say number one, and then we each introduce our own topic.
Yeah.
For example. And then we can say like, but before that, right? And then we can have this sort of spitballing sessions for like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
but before that, and then here's something I found interesting, right? And then we just go for 10 minutes. Just we probably need to have some kind of timer.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
just well, yeah, but like something that both of us can actually see.
Yeah.
At the same time. Okay, but before that, here's something random. Blah blah blah. Okay, so that would kind of be the intro. Closing would be almost that, but in reverse. It would be kind of like we close.
Mm-hmm.
We finish the last. So we go. We do the intro. We go into 10 minutes of random blah blah blah, and then we go okay, and now first topic, and we go into it for half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever. Go into the second topic, half an hour, and then we come out of the second topic, and
that's the thing. Do we want it to feel fluid, almost like there's no set change there? That it almost just feels like, oh, okay, this feels a little bit more at ease.
Between the two topics or at the end?
Between the last topic and then the STS part at the end.
I think it can be a clean break. I think it could be a clean break.
I think, yeah. So it's like, then somehow we sort of just say, okay, that was that. And then now we come to.
And that's why it's important for us to both see the time.
Yeah.
Because then we're both like aware, okay, it's counting down. We have like 3 more minutes on that. So we're you know, we can already know that we got to close that thing up a bit.
Yeah.
Package it. Tie a bow. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm imagining I think it can be nice to have it like cut off there, but it shouldn't feel like the fact that we have to cut it off there is like a negative thing. Like if it feels like we wanted to say more, but we have to cut it off there, then there is some negativity in that.
Because you didn't get to like finish. Yeah. That's the thing. Like that's why for me, if we both want to continue, we can also just be like, okay, well, we've reached the end of that time.
Yeah.
And then we can talk. Like we can just say, like, do you want to go further on this a bit more? You know, and then we can go 10 more minutes or something like that. Like,
just essentially, it should feel like just a talk.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel staged.
Like, okay, now, beep.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to say.
Yeah. Sorry. You fall through the floor. And your time is up. Enjoy the sharks below. Yeah, but one thing that I thought was kind of cool in so a TV program here in Switzerland is called Arena. In the Arena show at the end, they have this round where the moderator asks the guests just a funny question. Like one time it was, if you were stuck on an island, which of the other guests here would you like to? Or no, it was something like if you were gonna spend a week in a cabin, which one here would you like to spend it with? And everyone gave these really funny. Well, most of them gave really funny answers. So it doesn't even have to be like I could imagine it being something like, I found this amazing recipe for, you know, and then we just talk about it for 10, you know, or 5 minutes, and just to kind of.
There's really so many things you can talk about.
I know, and it's fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
So the closing thing, if we see the countdown happening and we see like, okay, it's 2-3 minutes left on this thing, let's start wrapping it up.
We can also wrap it up 10 minutes earlier or later.
Absolutely. We can, as soon as we want to, we can.
Not rules, guidelines.
Yes. We are the rule makers, so we can break them as well. Ha ha ha. But in closing, we see that we're tying it up, and then how do we go from there to to actually, going into this sort of like chilled out closing phase.
Sorry, say that again.
So we've tied it up.
Yeah.
We're watching the countdown happening. We've tied it up. What happens when the clock reaches 0? We've tied it up. How do we move from that to this? Or it could just be
That's
something as simple as
0. We may not necessarily want to stop right then.
Correct. But whenever we want to stop, put it that way, we could say like, and on that note.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If that happens at a weird time, then it's like,
yeah,
something happened.
No. It wouldn't. Yeah. It wouldn't happen like that. But if it was like, and on that note, an amazing pizza recipe was,
Yeah, I think we should have basically, let's say after 50 minutes, where we already covered section 1 and 2, we have basically a gray zone of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, where within that time, our mission is to phase it out.
Okay. It's our mission.
Yeah.
Okay, so closing is...
slow it down until it fizzles into nothing, and then you go to the next.
Yeah. So can we say the closing is something like 5 to 10 minutes of STS?
Yeah. It can go a little bit longer, but that's basically our signal to...
Yeah.
All right, time to run this.
Closing.
And that might actually be one of the more interesting parts, because a lot of the really in-depth stuff is going to start getting condensed a lot, and conclusions are going to start getting reached.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the...
Okay, but before we end the episode, we want to have a time, like padding. Yeah. And in this padding, we're just chilling. We're just like talking about some random stuff, STS moments. Yeah. And then maybe what we do is for example, that's the other thing, like Q&A. Do we maybe in that last segment, we throughout the discussion, maybe we saw some interesting chats. Yeah. Maybe we want to,
Yeah, depending on that, we might even want to say, okay, let's shrink down the time that we spend talking on the subject, so we have a little bit more time in the end to answer questions.
And sometimes we may be talking about something, and then someone just says like something in the chat, and we just, like regarding the topic we're talking about.
The actual talk,
and we can actually pull that in and like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Discuss it. But to close off, I think it is important to just sort of like have that time when you could just sort of like chill, just sort of like.
Yeah. You shouldn't go from 100 to 0 and say, okay, bye. And
sip the rest of the whiskey, take another puff, and hasta la vista, baby. Right?
Yeah.
So, but at the end, another thing that is probably good idea to do is if we have anything to, to introduce about the next one or something like that. If we have anything that we want to.
If it's audience relevant, yeah.
If it's relevant, yeah. Okay. 10 minutes of STS and then bye.
10 minutes?
Time, kind of. Well, more or less. Or you could say minimum. Maybe we should.
Yeah, minimum 10.
Yeah, okay.
Because it really depends on how much we want to talk about the main subjects.
Yep. No, these are just minimum. 10, I think is a good idea. Minimum. Okay. Scheduling. It looks like we pretty layout, seating.
It's what it is now. I don't see a reason to change it.
One idea I had, which I told you about earlier, wasn't supposed to. Well, either like that or like that, and then we're both like
table.
Yeah, like
talking
table.
About table.
Huh?
We're talking about a table.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah. So on a lot of these podcasts, you have like on the Joe Rogan podcast, you have table, people on opposite sides.
Opposite ends.
On the Tim Pool podcast,
they're all around it. Yeah.
You have a round table.
Yeah.
And the obvious thing we need there is space. Yeah. So if we use a table, it's probably going to have to be in your place. Because I don't see any space here.
Because you can't, so space-wise.
I mean,
what?
There could also be a couch. There's so many different things that you can use. Even, or like a standing table, which is like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you were saying, and that was true, was if we are not sitting like we are now, then we're gonna have to either be switching or we're gonna have split screens.
Right.
So
in the beginning, I think it's ideal that we just work with one camera angle. The only exception to that is if we have a guest that's remote, then we would have to like manually switch between when they're talking so we can see their face, or we could have sort of like a collage view, whereas like you and I at the bottom and them.
I think for now what we have here, it works. It's it does the trick. If we have, like you said, if we have an online guest, we can put them on the screen anyway. The name of that show is that podcast is Trigonometry. Do you know them?
No.
Ah, they're fun.
Shall I?
Trigonometry. Like triggering, but like trigonometry.
Trigonometry?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Trigonometry. They're fun.
That sounds fun.
And they do a lot of stuff where they're actually sitting like we are now. They're both just sitting there with the camera in front of them.
Yeah.
But then they also have the format where they're both like sitting like this, and they've got cameras looking at both of them and switching. So it depends. A lot of times you'll see that it depends on. A lot of these guys have two formats. They'll have the format where there's a camera looking at both of them, and that's sort of the more chill format. And then they have the professional one where this camera's switching. But then, of course, they always have a third person doing the switching.
That's the thing. There's almost never someone that's actually talking with
who's
a
doing the
keyboard
switching
or an app doing that.
Yeah.
And also, if you're working with a table, generally you're just there and you're talking, and you're not like with a keyboard and a mouse and like, okay, let me.
Yeah.
You can do that, but
it's distracting for sure. You can't. Yeah.
If you're working without someone that's dedicated there, actually managing the live stream, I think the setup that we have here is the easiest because we have all of the tools right here.
We got tools.
Yeah, and the multiple screens.
We are
stuff.
tools.
Like if you're having a table, which is probably not going to be in someone's bedroom.
We are not in anyone's bedroom at the moment.
No.
That was a joke.
Or office, wherever. Basically, you're not going to have these screens. You're not going to have this setup. Like the nice thing about this is that this was basically just set up when you arrived, and I didn't have to do much to change anything about it. It can just basically stay here.
It'll work for now, and as time goes, we can always keep an eye out for other stuff. But like I said to you before, for me, it's really about function.
Yeah. To me, this is very functional.
Yeah. And this is functional, and I think I want to make it more about the content, the richness of the content. Hopefully it's rich for some people. And then, hey, if we have a plant behind us and a little blue-green light there, then yippity-doo-dah.
I put so much hard work into it.
No, it's awesome. It's great. And our old Elon back there.
He's the mascot.
All right. Well, I think we did it. How long did we go?
Closing on 2 hours.
2 hours. Look at that.
Hold on.
That's awesome.
Wait, can you go over the things again?
Okay, so we're changing the name. So this is a recap.
All right.
Thanks, y'all, for bearing with us. But now you get to see what all this... And this is not even everything that goes into. The hardware, setting up the lighting and all this stuff. That took several hours.
Yeah.
Quite a few hours to sort everything out on that end of the spectrum. Technical.
When it comes to the ideas.
Yeah.
That basically all of that was done here.
Yeah.
I mean, we were throwing stuff around a little bit, but we hadn't come to any conclusions.
We kept catching ourselves saying like, oh, We should be talking about this now.
Yeah.
So no, so we really came into this quiet green in a way.
Yeah,
Just,
and intentionally so.
yeah, intentionally so. Correct. Okay, so the name. We're changing the name.
We're
Can't
not doing a
promise it will
podcast.
be-
We're changing a name.
Yeah. The intro will be something like, "Welcome to XYZ Podcast,
Thank you.
episode such and such. Title of the podcast: I'm so and so,
Or maybe something completely different.
and so and so."
We're
So
having an intro.
it will start with having something like a 10-minute warm up where we're just spitballing.
Yeah.
Location, layout, seating is basically going to be the way it is now.
You have to work out your seat. Because that.
What?
Your seat.
What about it?
Well, are you gonna leave it here? No. Are you gonna bring it with you every time? That's annoying.
The seating will be as it is right now, whether or not I'm using this seat or I'm sitting in a high
it's not really
chair.
relevant for them, but it's
It's going to be something else.
be on the floor.
Yeah, on a pile of cushions. Could
the
be
couch.
sitting back there with Mr. Musk, Mr. M. There's Mr. M.
You never thought you'd say that.
Duration 2 hours. We're shooting for 2 hours. Content 1 topic each. Swearing is okay.
Not promoted, but okay.
Yes, it's tolerated. We're very tolerant. Smoking and drinking, tolerated. Okay. Streaming other video content, we're going to look that up. Shared list of interesting topics, so we're going to have that going. We're going to inform one another about the topic we choose for the next episode by Friday evening.
Yep.
Features live chat, call in via Discord. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to see if people want to call in.
We have to curate the people though.
Yeah, absolutely.
For live stuff.
Share screen with OBS, so we're going to work on that as well.
Yep.
In closing, we're going to have minimum 10 minutes, just chill, STS moments. For marketing, etc., we're starting with ads, without ads, so without monetization on YouTube. YouTube, we're going to be live streaming. We're going to be uploading to Odyssey, Rumble, DLive, and maybe some other places.
We do have to look into those though.
Yeah. Marketing on social media. And scheduling, it's going to be once every week, Thursday evening. We still
meaning...
didn't make a time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any preference there with time?
After dinner. Would you say?
What time? What o'clock?
7:30? 7:30?
You mean 1900?
Or, like, I don't know when you get off work. I don't know if you need to eat before you want to...
1930.
19:30 works, yeah. For me. It could also be 19 o'clock. I don't know how long you take to eat or whatnot, but I need like an hour or something.
All right.
I'm flexible on Thursdays.
We could say 1900 hours, and then...
Yeah. I mean, my work situation could change, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. Well, let's say tentatively 1900 hours. We might shift it to 1930 if need be.
But are we saying for now 7 o'clock Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. So, that's what we did. And we did it in about 2 hours.
About 2 hours, yeah. Do you have anything else that we didn't cover yet?
Not that I know of. Not here.
The only thing that we didn't cover yet is how revealing we are about ourselves personally.
That's correct. Uh,
I mean, something.
how do
not
we
revealing
how do
you
we
wanna
talk
be-
about that without revealing?
Well, you don't have to say specifics, but like, would you talk about your kids? Would you talk about like things about your health? Would you talk about personal problems? Would you talk about where you work?
I might talk about things that are personal, but as if they are not. Depending
Okay.
on the thing, I might, for example, talk about something that happened to my kid as if it happened to someone else's kid. So I might say, "Oh, by the way, I know some such
Now
as."
that we know that you're gonna do that.
Huh?
Well, now we know you're gonna do that.
What do you mean?
Well, would you talk about some kid experiencing something? It's just gonna
Yeah.
be one of your kids.
Yeah. Like you could say, "Oh, I heard a friend of mine told me that their kid, da 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 da, something happened at school."
Yeah, asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might do
Okay.
that.
Okay, so
Because one has to be
you're
careful
not going
these
to
days.
involve specifics about your family. Put it that way.
It depends on the topic. If I'm, for example, if we're talking about going
just
for
as a principle, like, what do you want the audience to know about you?
that's the point. Like if I'm saying, oh, yesterday we went skiing, right? And we're talking about, yeah, I took my family to,
Yeah.
And we did like that. I don't care,
Yeah.
But if it has something to do with a socio-political
thing.
topic,
Yeah.
then I might talk about it in a third person or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Just not as
And
being
does
me.
the same go for you personally?
Yeah. Depending on the topic, I might have to.
I think it's appropriate to be a little bit more specific when it comes to you.
I will try, but for example, if something comes up that relates to my workplace,
Yeah. Then no.
then I would probably not say, "This and this happened at my work."
Yeah.
I would say, I would formulate it in a way that it, that it's not about my workplace.
True. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But one has to be careful nowadays. You just,
Yeah. No specific
Yeah.
things that can be abused, essentially.
Yeah. And even the fact that we said our names at the beginning, that's already.
I think that's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's also not hard to find out who we are.
This is true.
I mean, it's also,
It's also part of, well, you are who you are and stand up for what.
that is one thing. You don't want to be anonymous, and you want to represent what you're saying in a podcast.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good job to both of us.
Yay.
We did 2 hours. And
that went by so quickly.
it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have gone for like another hour, honestly.
Can you imagine if all this time we were sipping on something delicious? It would have gone by so much quicker, wouldn't it? Like if
Fuck. I should have well, we might have gotten less done, to be honest, but yeah, that is something I should have looked into before.
that's actually possibly something that can be part of the show, but as a side rail.
But like sampling.
Yes.
Sampling.
Yeah. Like, oh, today I brought this.
Yeah, it could be like a thing.
Well, I don't think we're gonna be drinking a bottle of whiskey per show.
No.
But so maybe it could be
Just
like,
bring
okay,
different alcohol every time.
yeah, for example.
Yeah.
Or this month we are working on this bottle.
But what if we don't like it? Do we still have to just go through it?
No.
No.
Then we can say, okay, this is just garbage. Are we doing this? Are we
gonna do like a liquor review?
We could. That's actually something that can be kind of cool.
But you don't smoke.
I don't smoke.
Would you be
I will
opposed to me smoking in here?
No.
Okay.
That doesn't bother me.
Are you sure with my IQOS thing?
What, with that little puffer
Like
thing?
not an actual cigarette, but yeah.
I don't care.
Because
just if you don't blow it in my face.
To me, I don't like coming to a room that had that smoke in it. It smells kind of like,
Okay.
like it's worth it.
I'm not bothered.
If you're not bothered, then all right.
I actually like the smell of tobacco.
Yeah, but it doesn't smell like tobacco. That's the thing.
Huh?
It doesn't smell like tobacco.
No, I know that doesn't. But
Yeah.
I don't care so much anyway about. But like, just if you were smoking also normal cigarettes, that also wouldn't bother me. Just to let you know.
Okay, sure.
And I definitely wouldn't mind having a puff on a cigar if I'm drinking something nice.
Yeah, just have to watch with
just can't.
aeration.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I don't want the room to get smoke in the walls. You know.
We'd have to have like a pipe going out the window, and then I just.
Yeah, I mean, we can also like have a segment where we like hop out on the balcony and just have like the stream on a phone, or these are things.
Depending on what temperature it is out there.
Is it?
What? Well, if it's like -10, I don't know if I'm gonna stand out.
When is it -10? I mean.
Yeah, it got like -7.
Yeah, and we're not gonna be out there for that long.
Okay.
This could go for 3 hours.
See what I mean? Like, so we're ready. 2 hours and 10 minutes now.
Someone commented again.
Someone from Russia.
It's the same.
Vor.
ONG.
What is vor? What is this?
It's kind of the same format as the first comment, but inverted, like with capitalization and then the dot and then
VOR.
I swear these are bots.
I think so. I think it's just spam.
All right, then we get to test out some things.
Oh.
All right, so you have 2 minutes to comment if you're a real person. Otherwise, I'm gonna ban you.
2 minutes to comment if you are
a real person.
A real person and not a bot.
Or if you don't want to be banned. I mean, if you want to be banned, you just don't comment.
This is true.
That doesn't include you, Serena.
Yeah, well, we don't know.
Is this a real person?
We do not know.
Yeah, I think that does cover it.
That does.
More or less.
Okay. Well.
We'll give them their 2 minutes.
Oh, we're giving them 2 minutes. See, we need to have a timer. You can get those on-screen timers. Those nice big with red numbers. You know? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I could use the viewing
there
angles
she
of
is.
this thing is.
Gee, thanks.
Hey, the real person. The viewing angles of this, from here, from where you're sitting, this probably looks fine. This monitor, but for me, it's
the glare.
It's just the viewing angle.
Well, tilt it more towards you.
I could,
just
but
turn it.
It's with all the wiring back there. It's kind of so it's hard for me to use this for anything useful, which is annoying because I have. Ideally, I would put this here, and then I'd have that there, and then this screen can be streamed if need be.
Okay.
I don't generally need this, but I like it to be available.
That's fine
so
too.
So it can
though.
also be like that.
But if you put this over there, then you can't see the chats very well.
No, that's the thing.
Okay.
I can, but it's just like I have to do that.
Yeah.
We can work that in.
All
right. So that's a bot. I think we're in agreement on that. See, actually, I do need to have a browser open. So I can actually write in chat and moderate the stream.
All right.
So let's see.
All right.
Shall I ban? Oh, they're gonna hear that. Come on. Jeez. That's laggy. Alright, so I can hide them. I can add them as a moderator, which I'm not gonna do. And okay, I'm gonna time them out. Doesn't show anything. And then I can't ban them.
Remove.
I can just remove the comment.
Yeah, but see if it asks if you want to ban them after removing.
So the one that I timed out. Okay, here you can see it was timed out, and this one's just removed. Hide user on this channel.
No idea.
So these are also things like if there are a lot of people in the chat, it can be useful to have some moderators.
Yeah.
Which can be anyone who's interested and trustworthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can get someone to help us with that.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain we can do that. Okay. You want to
Super.
close this thing down?
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and hope it was in some way, shape, or form interesting. And hopefully, so next Thursday, that is the 20th of January at 1900 hours local time. That is local time for Bern, Switzerland. We will be having the first echt podcast episode.
Is that this coming Thursday or the one after that?
I believe so. Bist du bereit?
Well, there's some prep to do that ordinarily wouldn't need to be done. Well, going over the name, doing all the branding, creating accounts, setting up all that stuff.
Do you want to move it to the next one?
I would prefer that. Yeah.
All right. 27th of January 2022 at 1900 hours. Huh?
I might be able to, but I'm getting worked on.
That's fine.
I might not be able to do it then.
Which one?
The 27th.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be out of commission for like a week.
Because of what? Work?
Dentist.
Oh. When? Okay.
So I might be able to, but I cannot guarantee it.
Okay.
I'll probably be in significant pain.
Gonna pop some more meds.
Hmm?
Gonna pop meds.
Yeah. I can't have alcohol. Fuck. So we can do it on Wednesday maybe.
No, we can't shift it like that. That's not right.
Yeah, but this is out of the ordinary, and we don't want to make a big ass break.
Okay,
Timing.
Tiny hiccup here, folks.
Yeah, I just decided to.
Wednesday. I can do it. I could do it Wednesday.
Wednesday is not ideal for me, but yeah.
Neither for me.
No. I work Wednesday, and honestly, even Wednesday, man, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I have to prep for the next day in the morning.
Do we want to do the next one the first Thursday of February?
I think that's the safest bet.
Okay. 3rd.
Even though I'm not a big fan of that big ass break.
3rd of February 2022 at 1900 hours.
That's a Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
1900 hours local time in Bern, Switzerland. See y'all then. Hopefully.
Britain, Marlat, I'll fill in for you, Vincent. I mean, sure. Leave a comment and maybe.
Hey, Brit could be one of the call-in guests from.
Oh, is that Brit?
Yeah, that's Brit.
Oh, I didn't know that was your full name.
Hi, Brit.
Hey, Brit.
Hey. Yeah. All right. 3rd of February. 3rd of February, 2022 at 1900 hours. You good?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
All right.
See y'all then.
See you then.
Peace.
Bye.